What is going on, guys? How are you doing? So I just wanted to stop by real quick for this podcast starts and say like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on all my social medias at John D. Clouser. It's literally the same name as the name that you subscribe to on this YouTube channel. So enjoy this clip, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Woo! It's a different setup, guys. It looks a little different. It's a little bare still, but we're getting there. Get to it, do it, right? All right, see you on the side.
Hey guys, so I have a Mexican Hot Pocket. I've never had one of these, so let's try it. It's a little tough. It's a little dry. I never had a tamale before. It's pretty good.
Welcome to The John Show with your host, John Doogie Clouser.
All right. What is going on, guys? How are you doing? This is a new episode of The John Show with your host, John D. Clouser. That is me. What is up? Hope you guys are doing well. You might be wondering, John, what is going on? Why is everything switched up? Why do you have a sign that you see out in a random parking lot at some place like in an apartment building in like downtown in a city? I stumbled through that. Have you ever walked into an idea or a thought and was like, okay, this is where we're going to go, and then halfway through you're like, I don't think that's where I want to go anymore, and you try to get out of it. Well, that's what I was trying to do right there. So I'm trying to get comfortable too. So this is weird as weird as it is for you to see this. If you're a returning guest, thank you, by the way. If you're brand new, this is new to you, and this is just what life is. So we're here. I switched everything up because I am starting to do a bunch of new projects in my world of filmmaking. And one of them was, I was like, well, John, like what you need to do is you need to kind of switch things up with that, and you need to make it look a little different, because I think that's probably be the best idea. So with doing that, I was like, okay, well, I spent all weekend doing it. And then what ended up happening was that I just ended up just leaving it. And I'm like, well, this is kind of a cool like little layout. And, you know, as long as I get more stuff like over here in this corner, and I put some stuff over here, and maybe get like a desk over here in this area over here, maybe something like that, can make it look cool. And maybe I get that table that I usually use and see what it's, am I rambling? Has literally anything I've just said made any sense? So anyway, yeah, it's a new idea. It's a new thing. I wanted to try a new set. If I don't like it, hell, you know what the great thing is? It's my podcast. I can just do it again and change it up. And I think what the big thing is, I'm really, really in a tuffle right now, because this microphone, I'm using it. Normally I have it on a mic arm, but I was like, you know what, John, let's do something different. Let's try it out. Let's, I'm going to just move that right there. Okay, because I know how I'm framed. It's going to be good. It's already how it is. But the thing is, what I am worried about is that like this microphone cord keeps coming out, so I had to duct tape it. So with duct taping it, now I'm kind of worried. I'm like, well, one, I have to unduct tape it after the thing because I don't want to leave it on there and like get some glue on it. And then two, I hope to God it fucking works. It's one of those things. Guys, this podcast tonight is crazy because what I'm doing is I'm doing on, I guess technically we have almost 10 minutes left of Martin Luther King Day. This whole weekend has been just long and crazy because I had a couple new projects, like I told you, are starting up. One of them was really cool. It's called Burst Your Bubble. I will give you guys a little premise. It's already the first episode is already premiered. Premiered today, actually. It is Aaron Naylor, my co-host who does my Aaron and John show. He is reviewing flavored waters, like bubbled water, because these things aren't the greatest of water. They are the greatest beverages, and so it's kind of like making fun of it, but I'm just filming it, directing it. It's one of those things, and and this is the big thing, guys. I'm almost feeling like I'm talking here, it's getting to the point now where I think I need to get a studio, like a secondary studio where I can keep all my film equipment, and I can just film there, everything there, and do the podcast there, and just do my own stuff there instead of doing it out of like, my room. I'm really starting to wanting to separate church and state instead of having everything mixed in a big old bowl, a big old petri dish. So, it's just one of those things in life. I've been recently thinking, like this 2020 was a crazy year. And with that, you've had to adapt. At least I had to adapt. And like, I thought 2020 was going to be the year. Like, I had finally gotten this really awesome production job, and I'm like, fuck yeah! I was working at that, and then everything just shit the bed. Everything just shit the bed. So I have all this time to do all these other projects, but now I'm just feeling like, like, John, if you have all this time for all these projects, like, you should have like a dedicated like studio, or you need to be renting out a studio area for like on a couple days out of the week. And I actually, that might be the smarter thing to do for me, actually, would be instead of just like renting it out and always just having maybe. But that's the thing, that I don't want to just carry all my fucking gear around all the time. I'd rather have a place where I can just like leave it and rather pay that additional, I'm going to assume, let's just say $400, additional $400, and know that my stuff's just there. But like, I don't know. It's weird. It's just how this is what I've been thinking. But this is also like the craziest thing about going independent versus like when I was working for a company. When you work for a company, like, you don't have to think about any of this shit. But when you're by yourself and you're the head honcho of a lot of like the production stuff, of having the equipment and the like, just like, I don't know, the location, then you just start thinking about more and more about these things. I really do feel like this podcast has gone absolutely nowhere. This is what's awesome about it is like, I was thinking about today, or I've been recently been thinking about lately a lot about like just when I was younger. I think about all these like the most embarrassing moments of my life. I'll be in the shower and I'll just be thinking. I'm like, oh man, that was really rough, John. I can't believe you did that. Like okay, so here's an example. I would like play songs like, Teenage Frankenstein. Like that was like Alice in Chains. And then I'd play like Rock You Like a Hurricane. And I'd be sitting like, and I look back on it like, dude, like, John, you date black girls. Like, black girls don't want to hear songs like that. They don't like songs like that. And then I would play songs like that and expect them to be like, wow, he's a really deep guy. I should probably have sex with him. That was my mind. Like, dude, no one. And I would sit there and I would wonder, John, like, why am I not, why is this not working? It's because you're scaring him away playing this god awful music, John. God awful music. It's just horrific. It's just not a good thing. And so also leading into that, this is a secondary thing. So I just feel like this podcast is like just completely gone off the rails, but I just had to get it. I need to get this done so I can upload it and get it open over for tomorrow. But another thing, brown girls. I got a question for black girls, brown girls. This is a legit question. So do you ladies, I almost said guys, how dare I say that? You ladies, do you ladies like fantasize about like getting caught in the rain and making out, or is it too much of a nightmare to think about what would happen with your hair and how you have to like comb it out and redo it again? Is it just not worth it? And this is a legit question. Like, in these, like, granted, when I thought this question, I was very high. I was very baked when I thought of it. I was like, you know what? Hey, what's a funny question I could ask? It's like, do you guys, what do you mean by you guys? But like, do you ladies like daydream about getting caught in the rain and making out? Or is it just like the thought of it is just like, wow, that's a nightmare. The thing about what it would do to my hair. Hell no. Because like, I have a lot of hair. Like, I have a crap ton of hair, which is absurd. It's one of the most absurd things. I don't know if I've ever shown you guys on my podcast, but here, like, let me show you. It is insane how it's crazy. So it's probably not, because I kind of pulled it back. So who knows? But yeah, like, it's just one of those things. I absolutely have absolutely nothing to talk about on this episode. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This might be like one of the most like shortest podcasts I ever do. Might be like 10 minutes long. Well, I've done literally like 10 minutes, and I'm already like, all right, I'm good. Like the thing is, like Aaron and I did a podcast tonight already, and that usually like if it's an hour long podcast, and that just like takes the absolute cake out of me. It just is. It's like, oh, I do this, and then what? Like it's like, okay, I'm done. Like my mind is just like a blank after that. After doing an hour long podcast and talking to someone, having all these subject matters and doing that, and then like now I'm sitting here in this hot ass room, dude. Like it's like 30 degrees outside, but in my room it's like 85, and it's hotter than hell. It is so hot in here, and I have a hoodie on, which was stupid. I was outside for a second, and then I came back in, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna leave this hoodie on, and that was dumb. That was silly. I don't know. This is this whole new setup is different. I don't know. I kind of like it. I kind of not like it. It's kind of different. It's kind of like the same. I really like where my desk is now, because like behind the camera is where the computer used to be that sat back here. That's where that sits. I sit here instead of sitting over behind you and over to the I guess the camera. It'd be your left. So it's just one of those things. Like I said, it's just one of those things. We're here. We're doing it. Are you guys doing well? We have Wednesday. Wednesday's a big day for America. We have an inauguration for a new president. Oh, good God. Like, I just hope and I pray that it goes over well. But Aaron and I were talking on our podcast, and he was talking about how that there's supposed to be like, there might be an inside mole or something, and how like there could be some like somebody trying to mess everything up from the inside, which I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And the thing is, like, at this point, you have to somewhat believe it. You have to maybe think that like this could possibly happen. Like, hell, like everything else has happened. Would you ever think that like in 2021, a group of people would start storming the Capitol building? No, I never thought that. Did you ever think that we'd have a president called Donald Trump, someone who was never a politician, who's a complete utter moron? And God damn it, I still respect him because he's our fucking president, and I have to. But the dude's a fucking dipshit. And like it's just like we have a day. We have tomorrow, Tuesday, and yeah, about 24 hours, and then he's gonna be gone. It's insane. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? And then today is Martin Luther King Day. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, Monday. And what's funny about Martin Luther King Day, the only thing I ever remember, I remember it, during school and learning about it. I remember it being Black History Month, and like the school I was going to at that time was a majority. I was literally the most brownest person there. You wouldn't think that by looking at me, but ethnicity wise, I was the most brown person. So I'm half Honduran, half Egyptian. But the other brown person that was there, we had someone who was half Peruvian but born in the United States, half Peruvian, half white, and then we had a person who was half black and half white, and they were also born in the United States. So there, by default, the fact that I was born in Honduras makes me the most ethnic person at my school. And with that really hurt my elbow hitting that back table. But I remember being in a class, and the teacher was like, does anyone know what month this is? And no one was saying anything. I'm like, I was just like sitting, like drawing on my piece of paper. Just like, what I would do is I would draw a line at a diagonal angle. Then I would do it at another angle. And I would just do that. And then eventually I would just start drawing a giant circle. It's what I did. I did not pay attention. I knew I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. So I was like, all this stuff is pointless for me to be doing. There is literally absolutely no reason for me to be here. Like, you and I both know neither one of us care that I'm here. And it's dumb. And I remember I'd just be sitting there, and then I raised my hand. I'm like, it's Black History Month. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's Black History Month. I'm like, yeah, guys, how the fuck do you guys not know this? Like it blew my mind. I'm like, guys, like, this is not hard stuff. This is not a difficult thing to remember. But what I really remember is back, God, what was that? That was 2012. I think that was 2012, because it was during this time right after I graduated college. I went out to this club that past weekend, that like Saturday. So like the Saturday before Martin Luther King Day. And I went out and I ended up like meeting this girl, this Latin girl, and I ended up like hooking up with her. And I remember we did 2 positions I had never done before, and it was reverse cowgirl, and the other one was she like put both her legs on like each one on my shoulders, and then she like put her arms out straight, and I would grab them, and then she was like, just like fuck me, and then like we fucked. And whenever like Martin Luther King Day comes around, I always think about her. I always think about her. She was an awesome girl. She was really cool. She was very nice. Then like we went and had tacos, and she paid for them. It was a really awesome experience. I think she felt sorry for me because like she's like, oh, you're a brown person that got adopted by Jews. Like, so, it's just one of those things. I swear to God, I really do think she felt like that. It was insane. And it was so dumb because if I was a lot smarter, then I would have realized that she liked me, and we could have had a pretty good relationship. She was a advisor at USC, I believe. That's what school she was at. And then she took me to all these she would always take me to all these like art shows and stuff like that, and always show me this art. And she's like, well, if you want to be a filmmaker, you need to know about all this different type of art, and you need to appreciate even like the weird stuff that you don't like, and you can find like some sort of thing about it. I'm like, you know what, you're right. And she was actually a really cool influence in the sense of like my understanding art and understanding, just like things like you're not going to like everything, and you can't be a dickhead about it, which I was at that time because I had not been checked very much in my life up until that point. It was like a little bit because I was like maybe what I would say I had been in a 7-year relationship with this beautiful woman, and we went to the same college. I guess university college, it's the same thing, isn't it? And we were from the same town. We didn't graduate from the same high school, 2 different high schools. And then we dated for 7 years out in like Los Angeles. We had a dog together. We lived in a house in Beverly Hills together. Crazy as hell. Had 80 fucking steps. No, I swear to God, it had close to 80 steps. It was the worst thing to go up with groceries. And her and I had broken up, and she was going to New York, and I was like, I didn't want to move to New York. I had no desire. I still have no desire to ever want to move to New York. Sounds like an awful place to live. It really does. And we broke up, and so like that was like the only like big checkpoint in my life, because I was like kind of really fucking sad. Because you had been with someone for 7 years, and at that point in your life, you think you're never going to find anyone else, and you feel like this is the closest that you're ever going to get. And like now it's gone. Like this is like the happiness is gone. That's close you're ever gonna get to happiness, forever happiness. It's gone now. And so I was going through like a weird time going to all these clubs, and I was getting fucked up, taking a bunch of GHB, horse tranquilizer, crazy, awesome. G'd out a couple times. That was interesting. You're just like you're chilling like this. Like it would be like me talking right now, and then like then like next thing I know, I wake up. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm like, oh yeah, I G'd out. My bad. It was insane. It was so dumb. But it's just, I was just so sad. And I was just like dumb. I was 24, 23 going on 24. And I was just doing that. I never did nothing else crazy. That was the only thing. And then I smoked a bunch of weed, and that was it. And, I was living on 3rd Street with 3rd and Fairfax in the Jewish district area. That was awesome. I really enjoyed living there. I still to this day probably my favorite place to live. And then I moved like 2 blocks over to Sunset and Crescent Heights, and that's like right by where the Laugh Factory is in Los Angeles, which is so insane. If I would have been a comedian, it would have been like the perfect place where I lived, because I could easily had a set at any time. I could have just taken it was less than I would say a 6-minute walk. It was kind of up a hill. It was right across the street from a Rite Aid, which was awesome because there's always all these insane homeless people that was always screaming in the middle of the night. That was fun. And that was actually the same Rite Aid where So I have a story where I've met Zoe Saldana twice in my life. The actress Zoe Saldana. So the first time I met her, I was actually in that Rite Aid, and she was going down an aisle, and I was going down another aisle, and she was coming out of it on one end, and I was going into another aisle, and then I saw him. I'm like, wait, is that Zoe Saldana? I'm like, that's kind of odd. And I mean, it wasn't odd. It was just odd. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I went up to her. I'm like, hey, I just want to know that you're I'm a fan of yours. I really liked you in Avatar. And I scared the shit out of her, because I'm like, hey Zoe, she's like, ah, and I'm like, ah. So that was great. And what was funny though is during that time I was working as a assistant to a casting director, and I was doing a lot of shows for a CBS series, and I was going in there just basically when they would do their reads, I was playing anybody they needed me to fill in because I was her assistant. And so then one day Zoe came in to audition for a show, and she ran to me. She's like, "Are you the guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the guy." And she's like, "You're such and such's personal assistant?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Wow." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm so sorry that I scared the shit out of you. And it was a great time, and it was forever a funny little joke. And then she told my boss, and my boss thought it was the most funniest thing in the world. She's like, that would be you. Like, and what's so funny is the fact that you're like the most softest, like chillest guy, and that you scared the shit out of like this lady. Like, I'm like, yeah, I scared her. That was me. I've always done the dumbest stuff. My life has always just been it's so dumb. And it was so funny because like, so I'll tell you, like, I'll just tell you one of the movies that she's done, and then you can just Google that person. And that was the person I was the personal assistant to. She did Independence Day. And so, yeah, she did the casting for it. So I was her personal assistant for the longest of times, all throughout college. And yeah, because like I had like a combination to her house. I could just chill at her house. Like I'd like stop by on the way to school, and like, you know, she would need me to do something real quick, and then I'd just like, you know, be able to grab some food from her place. It was awesome. It was such a great experience to have. And then like from there, I worked as a nanny. I guess a manny. For a family in Bel Air. And what was so crazy about it was for this guy, the father he went to Harvard Law, and they had a 9-foot they had a mini golf course around the whole house. The house came with that installed in it. That was like the craziest thing about it. And like, we read only books, and we don't watch any TV at all. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I would just drive them. I would drive their Porsche and their Lexus and their Mercedes to pick up their kids and take them their kids to their practices and to, you know, from school. And that was a great job. And I would have a key to their house, would come in. I had a little sheet of paper. I would clock in and clock out with this little timestamp thing that they had. It was really old school. It was very old school. It's very funny. Always had to come in, take my shoes off, wipe your shoes wipe your feet off on a mat, and then you could walk into the house. It was really insane. They're kind of insane people, but it was a really good gig. They paid amazing. It was an amazing in that sense. And then when I would take them to school, they went to this school with all these actor kids. So I would see all these other actors, and I'm like, oh my God, you have a kid? And I'm like, oh my God, you have a kid? And I'm like, you have a kid with that person? I'm like, what the fuck? And then I would see, oh my God, weren't you on Sex in the City? And I'm like, I'm like, oh, and I would be just so fucking high. And because that's all I would be doing. Because I was still really fucking sad during that time in my life. Because I was like, this girl I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Her and I aren't together. My film career, so I'm kind of like in this like weird spot because I want to make feature films and like get the right scripts to make these feature films. I'm trying to like sell these scripts, and I'm like, you know, thinking like, you know, having this like my boss being someone who's like high up, that I'm like, maybe she can help me up, and like, you know, but not asking, and then, you know, doing all this other stuff. And it was just like, it was a really insane time. And then like and dating all these beautiful women that if I were just somehow didn't have half of my head up my asshole, I could have married one of them because I could have just started dating one of them, and they were just equal to or not better than the girl that I was like still fucked in the head for. But you don't learn these things until you get older. Now I'm 32 and sitting here talking about bullshit on my podcast. I could easily just kick the camera over. It's so weird. This whole setup is such a different setup. I feel almost like I'm doing reality television. Those cutaways where they do the individual interviews with reality television. That's why I feel like it is. That's how I have it set up right now. So it's a completely different feel. It's an odd feel, but I like how it's laid back and how I can just be chill but it is what it is. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna probably end it here. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I just was really wanting to do this podcast in a different format, and I was just not gonna lie, kind of tired because I've already done an hour-long podcast. So if you've gotten this far, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow my Instagram. That's where you can see all my new shows. Every time there's a new premiere, there's always links to it. There's always ways to see it. Subscribe. Once you subscribe, you get all of my stuff. It's like a full gift. You don't just get this episode. You get a bunch of all the episodes. And I'm still working on getting it on iTunes. I'm just going to pay Aaron. I'm going to honestly just pay Aaron to do it. Come over, sit down, write my description for me. We'll figure out the password. We'll start uploading things. I'll give him my credit card so we can just like charge it to my thing. Because I don't know why I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. I'm just going to have Aaron do it. This is like the one thing I'm like, I just want someone else to do it for me. And it's probably not the best thing to be doing, thinking like that. But if you've gotten this far, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode. All right. Bye.